So very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the invitation to being here with you today. And I would like to express my special thanks to the organizers, the National Coordination Board Tourism for All, especially for Mr. Rüdiger, for being here and inviting us. I would like to pass you the special welcome of the Secretary General of UNWTO, Mr. Taleb Rifai, who was planned to come and to deliver the speech here, but for any problems in his agenda, he was not able to do it. I would try to replace him. I don't think so very successfully, but let's try to do the best together. The topic why we are here is to discuss the accessible tourism for everyone, for all, is perhaps one of the most pressing issues facing the sector today, what we do have. I don't have to tell you how important is tourism in the field of economy. I don't have to tell you that it's a more than $1 trillion US business. But I'm happy to report you that last year we had a very important milestone in the history of tourism. We have achieved the 1 billion tourist arrival in one calendar year, which means comparing with 1950, when there were 25 million people crossing the borders, last year there was more than 1 billion. It means that from that time, when tourism was nothing else than the privilege of an elite and very vast people, today the tourism became the part of our everyday life. And that is the most important thing, what we can tell about tourism. And tourism is a very important economic factor, which means that about 9–10% of the GDP world we are producing. More than 6% of all services worldwide are done by tourism. And for many countries and many destinations, especially in the developing world, the tourism is the #1 economic sector, not only in an economic way, but in a social way also. So we know very well how tourism is good for the global world and the economy, but we also have to take into consideration the special dangers of tourism, what we can do and what we can cause for the world. I think so. It's very important to know that if tourism is going in an unplanned way, it can be in danger of future, and the tourism cannot be developed without sustainability and taking into consideration to a future. And in that case, I refer to the rights of persons, with all persons to have the right to travel. About the disabilities and people about special needs, we have to take care of that. And I think so this shows that tourism is important, the freedom for all. We have the right to travel and we have the need to travel. That was one of the reasons that in 1999, the UNWTO managed and created the Global Code of Ethics for Tourism. Practically, this is a very important guideline, a roadmap for the development of responsible, sustainable, and universally accessible tourism. It's a very good information, very good news for all of us that after the establishment of the code in 2001, the United Nations General Assembly itself recognized the importance of the Global Code of Ethics and made it part of the UN document. The Article 7 of the Global Code of Ethics is clear. This is the explicitly calls for facilitation of tourism by all persons. This is the right of all people, even if they are for vulnerable part of the society, to travel freely and to enjoy the freedom of travel and tourism all over the world. That was the reason that we created the so-called concept of accessible tourism for all. UNWTO really supports, and this is a form of tourism that involves a collaborative process among the stakeholders to enable people with access requirements to function independently and with the equity and dignity through the provision of universally designed tourism products, services, and environments. Accessibility should be regarded as an integral part of the service sector, of all sectors of tourism. It should be integrated into all tourist facilities, products and services, and ideally from the beginning, from the inception, and of course with the adaptation of the best practices and the legal issues. This should be done both in the interests of human rights, which is a human rights, the freedom of right, but also is in the light of the interest of the sector, the economic advantages of the sector which is possible to provide for us. Accessibility is not just an ethical consideration, but number one, it is, of course, but also a business opportunity. Some 3 weeks ago, I had the chance to be in Italy, in BIT Milan, in a Congress of ethical issues concerning to accessibility, and I had the chance to meet people who are involved, both economically and both as people, as handicapped people. And I learned 2 very important elements that I would like to share with you. In a certain way, all of us are people with special needs or disabled capacities. If I have a glass, I'm a certain way I am handicapped. If I am a vegetarian, I need special needs. If I am from the elderly age of the society, I need special needs. But on the other hand, it is true for everybody. In certain cases, we are not. On the other hand, we do have one very similar issue. This is that all of us want to be guests. And what is needed for the tourism sector to have guests, not to make differentiation between they are handicapped or not. Just some facts. According to the WHO, the World Health Organization, it's about 1 billion people worldwide, 15% of the global population who suffer from some form of disability. The rapid aging, as I might mention to you, of the society, it means that a lot people who were trained and who were practicing tourism in a certain age of their life, they are in an aged ability of their life, and they want to travel. They need special needs, but we want to give them special services for that. Such individuals face serious impediments of the travel, and so their potential as a tourist remain largely untapped. Providing reliable, accurate information to travelers and with disabilities, shaping and marketing tourism destinations according to universal design principles, and offering better access to tourism sites, these can make the difference between winning and losing visitors for both tourism companies and both for destinations. It's up to us, up to you, how we will manage it. The tourism industry wants to maintain and develop quality, sustainability, and competitiveness. It must support and develop tourism accessible for all, because accessible tourism benefits everyone. As more individuals enjoy the opportunity to travel, the tourism industry gets more travelers, longer seasons, and new incomes, what we need, all of us in the sector. Society as a whole benefits from new jobs opportunities, more tax revenue, and an accessible environment for both locals and visitors. So too does society as a whole benefit from universal accessibility in itself. Accessibility does not only affect persons with disabilities or special needs, it affects all of us. For this reason, UNWTO has sought help mainstream disability issues across the tourism sector for the past several years. Of particular relevance, in 2005, we came out with the recommendations on accessible tourism for all in our General Assembly, which highlights the necessity of providing clear information on the accessibility of tourism facilities, the availability of support services in destinations for persons with disabilities, and the training of employees to help meet the needs of visitors handicapped. We have produced a draft update of these recommendations, and we will produce it and we will submit it to the General Assembly of this year, 2013, in Zambia and Zimbabwe. Since 2011, UNWTO has also been developing several initiatives in a partnership with organizations who are working in the field of accessibility, like the Spanish ONCE Foundation and the European Network for Accessible Tourism, the ENAT, with whom we have signed a trilateral agreement aimed at enabling universal access to tourism facilities and services. Our agreement entails awareness raising, providing stakeholders with advice on policy making, embarking on training and capacity building projects, and the labor insertion of persons with disabilities. We have also partnered with the Spanish ACS Foundation since last year to enhance a central output of our collaboration with the two other organizations, and this is a manual on developing universal accessibility in the interest of tourism for all, which will be available this year in an online format at the moment in Spanish, and we hopefully it will be translated very soon to other languages like English, French, and Russian, Arabic, which are the official languages of the world. And it's absolutely for your disposal to translate it to your own languages. The manual will outline existing legal and technical regulations on the accessibility and features of a compilation of relevant international and good practices. And it aspires to ensure the key players in tourism fully understand the need for universal accessibility and recognize the competitive advantage in entails. It is UNWTO's hope that through such initiatives, tourism key players, specifically the private sector, will have valuable new tools and resources with which to make their destinations, facilities, and services ever more accessible. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, accessibility in tourism can only be achieved with a political will from the side of the public sector and with through efficient partnerships between policymakers, the private sector, and the organizations representing persons with disabilities, and of course with international organizations, and we would like to offer to a service to all of our partners to do it. But the first step, the step that will truly make a difference is the change in attitudes of service providers and destinations towards travelers with disabilities. Accessibility is an ethical imperative, a step that will bring tourism ever close to the goal of true sustainability. It is also a business opportunity, a good business opportunity for all of us, an engine for market growth, which stands to benefit the sector as a whole in an immeasurable ways. I really believe that discussions today at this event will help move us closer to achieving this very important goal and to have a clear vision and the mandate where to go, and how to work together. I will share with you my time. If you allow me, I will be with you. If you have any questions to me, I will be very happy to do it. I am for your disposal. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Zoltan, Somogyi, ganz herzlichen Dank.
Thank you very much indeed, Zoltan Somogyi, that you have given us this international sport picture. You used a lot of we have to, we should, we will. When you went on holidays, have you looked at the facilities, whether they're really accessible at barrier-free?
That's absolutely true. That if I am looking for a holiday for myself, I always check whether this place or hotel or destination is available for other people or not. And I can build up my opinion, and very frequently I do not choose a place which is not available for people. That's why I think so. That's our responsibility, our common responsibility together to enjoy and to help, to understand the service providers that they have to do it. That's it. So.
Damit ist Weg.
With this, you are really a role model, and we are happy that we have such a role model at the international level, what we also negotiate at the European level. I learned in Europe there are 50 million people with disabilities. It's quite a number.
And we are talking about this is the all over the world, not only in Europe. Of course, some other issues are touching a bit more Europe, like the aging of population, who are also in special needs, but it's true. That's a big business opportunity for all of us. If you will lose it, you will lose tourists, you will lose the guests to have together. That's it.
Arbeiten wir gemeinsam.
So let's do it together.
For the future. Thank you.
Zoltan Somogyi, ganz herzlichen Dank.
Thank you very much indeed. Take care.
Alien.
I resemble an alien, probably. Okay, I'll hand you back the headset because what you quite charmingly framed, the fact that he said that he was not very well versed in German, that is certainly not true, but in contrast, I myself am not very well versed in English, and I'm looking forward to, working with the excellent interpreters here who are really doing an excellent job here, together with the sign interpreters here on stage, so thank you very much for that. Okay, we heard that barrier freedom is beneficial to all. It is certainly beneficial for business development. Mr. Somogyi explained that to us, and we will now have a panel discussion. Barrier-free tourism for everyone, quality and success criteria to ensure the marketability of it. And I would now like to ask Ms. Victoria Eichhorn. She is from the UK, University of Surrey. Where is it? Well, it's south of London. As you can hear, she speaks very well German, but she hasn't been living in Germany for the last 16 years. Is very much somebody who lives in the international sphere, thus speaking English. And I will also, as says Ms. Eichhorn, be speaking English. You have been looking at this from a very scientific perspective. You've had research projects, and I think you will be giving us some examples as to what this research has yielded. And now I'd like to ask our second guest to join me up on stage, also from the UK, Calladine. Ross Calladine, good morning. When traveling or when walking around the ITB, probably you've already been met there, because Visit England is a company that prepares tourism in England, is engaged in propelling in tourism in England. Yes, he is nodding there.
Which is not so good, so I'm going to be speaking in English today. Yes, I'm from Visit England, the National Tourist Board in England, and accessible tourism is a big priority for us, so I hope to share some of our learnings today.
Wo sind Sie beheimatet? In London?
Do you live in London?
London, in Oxfordshire, near where David Cameron and Winston Churchill were born, so a bit of history there, but I work in London, yes. We work opposite Buckingham Palace in London.
Problemlos hergekommen über den Ärmelkanal ohne Barrieren?
Well, you were able to travel here barrier-free across the channel?
So, Lufthansa is sehr gut.
Also nicht, dass Sie jetzt meinen, wir machen eine Werbung.
Well, we're not actually engaged in advertising here, but we will also be talking to tour coach operators in Germany here. But we will be looking at what airlines are doing as well. And something I'd like to know from you, how far has England come along this road towards barrier-free tourism? And perhaps you can give us some insights into that. Thank you very much for joining us here. Thank you. Please have a seat right next to Ms. Eichhorn. Perhaps at this point I should also ask the co-organizer here on stage, the German Central Office for Tourism, Olaf Schlieper, representing the German Central Office of Tourism. I've already mentioned they are co-organizers of this event, the second day dedicated to the topic of barrier freedom. What does it mean for you to be part of this event here? Well, what is your task? Well, we try to market the quality of tourism in Germany, but not only in Germany, but internationally, and barrier freedom is very important, a very important aspect of this, and therefore we try to support quality in this area of barrier freedom along the value chain, and what we're trying to do is really have an across-the-board approach encompassing all of Germany, not just regional pockets. Well, Mr. Calladine, Germany and the UK, are those similar structures? Well, yes, we have different focal points. We also have excellent contacts with Visit Britain and the national administrations, and I think we're more or less comparable. Where do you live, and how did you get here today? Well, right now I'm staying in Berlin, and I took the German railway system, and I also flew into Berlin with Lufthansa. Was everything excellent? A couple of years ago, we had a study, and we traveled with Deutsche Bahn from Frankfurt to Berlin, and several of those journalists present said that in their countries they had railway stations that were as modern and rail systems that were as modernized in Germany, that would already be a great step forward. Well, we'll be looking at that also in the course of the day. So thank you very much. You are co-organizers, so please take the last seat there at the end of the stage. You will be somehow framing this. And now we will invite the organizer, Jochim Michael. Jochim, is it Europcar or Europcar? Well, pick your choice. You can pronounce it both ways, but Europcar is the international pronunciation. Europcar would be in Germany. And his badge, certainly his lanyard, the color of his lanyard, reveals his allegiance there. We would like to look at the market that you're trying to tap into. Do you believe that there is a wave coming towards you also as a company, or would you say, well, we were privy to that 10 years ago already? Well, a couple of years ago, we saw that quite a few demands were being brought forward, and we didn't have an adequate response, and therefore we started looking at it in depth, and we tried to find also personal access to it, and then we set up a work group, and we said, well, we need some solutions for this topic of barrier freedom, and then we developed specific solutions, developing specific vehicles also that meet these requirements, and we're trying to set up a network in Germany and broaden it as well. And we register that you're very candid. You said you didn't have any solutions and answers at the time, and now you're saying that you found solutions at Europcar. Okay, please take your seat. And now, last but not least, Dr. Rüdiger Leidner, please come up on stage. He's been accompanied by his wife. Please have a seat. And to your left is Frau Dr. Eichhorn. Ms. Eichhorn. Dr. Rüdiger Leidner, member of the National Coordination Board of Tourism for All. I think you've been the president of this organization since 2010. NatKo, what is it? It is a national interlocutor for a kind of international interlocutor for all people involved with barrier freedom. Well, yes, that's our aim. We have 10 federally active associations of people with disabilities, or self-help groups. We try to pool all of these efforts, and at the same time, we want to be interlocutor and partner for dialogue with the tourism industry players and the main actors in the field, also in terms of decision-making, policy-making. As you have heard today, dialogue is very important, but all players need to join forces, and therefore we asked the ITB to organize this day dedicated to barrier freedom together with us. And for the very first time, we also have a commitment on the part of the German Central Office for Tourism, and I'd like to thank them for this commitment. Well, certainly, Mr. Leidner, we're talking about a topic here that, as was mentioned at the beginning, affects us all. Each and every one of us is somehow affected by barrier freedom. Why is it still such a fraught topic? Why are we still referring to it really only in terms of a specifically delineated group? Why has society not been able to carry it out into a more broader perspective? Barrier freedom is not just something that concerns people with disabilities, it concerns all of us. Well, that is exactly the sticking point. We still haven't really understood fully, and we still haven't provided sufficient good examples to demonstrate that barrier freedom is beneficial to all of us. And secondly, if I look at the situation of companies, I think they're still using the wrong calculus. Because if you refer to the potential of it, then you mustn't just refer to the 10% of the German population whose degree of disability has been officially certified or acknowledged, but 40% of European citizens know somebody amongst their relatives or groups of friends who has disabilities. And these people who are perhaps not incapacitated in any way, and if they wish to travel with their friends or family members who are incapacitated in some way or have a disability, look for barrier-free offers. And if they, so if somebody does not have an offer, then they not just lose a single, or they're not just hosting a single person with disabilities, but 3 or 4 more people accompany this person. So there is a much wider group, and there's a much wider turnover possibility to create turnover there.